Folks, Andrew Broadbros here. Well, with the whole Jim Harbaugh situation at Michigan and some interesting new information and direct quotes regarding Jim Harbaugh and what he would like to do potentially. A few things have arisen, especially on the Pat McAfee show, right? I know we obviously know that Harbaugh has, links to the Chargers and, definitely likes Justin Herbert's. So, guys, let's get into Bull Bros. Okay, folks, as always, like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. I'm Andrew Bopros. Again, videos like this I don't particularly like to get into, especially since we have a season going on. We are technically in the playoff push at this moment. Whether we make it or not is we need to win pretty much everything, but it is what it is. But again, Jim Harbaugh clearly has some definite opinions on Justin Herbert. We're going to get into a little more on that. But again, he knows the Spanos family. He's played for the Chargers. We get it, right? We understand where he sits, and it doesn't look like he's probably going to be coming back to Michigan due to all these allegations and everything that's going to be happening. And most likely the theory and the thought is that he's going to be leaving and coming to the NFL. So very curious to see how that plays out specifically for Jim Harbaugh and really the Chargers in general, right? I mean, very interesting, conversation. Well, there was some general discussion around this on the Pat McAfee show just on the 4th, so just a few days ago, talking about him specifically and what his thoughts. And this is from Mike Greenberg. We all know Mike Greenberg. He's, obviously been an analyst for quite some time. He did cover the Bears, one of the teams that have potential ties for Jim Harbaugh. Let's just kind of see what he says specifically about Jim Harbaugh and what his thoughts are potentially coming to the NFL.
You may know Jim Harbaugh better than I do, but I know him a little. He was the quarterback of the Bears when I covered them in the 90s. And I happened to run into Jim. We were at a funeral about a year and a half ago.
Rest in peace, rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Thoughts and prayers. And it was just a mutual friend of ours who died. And we got to talking. Now, I want to make it very clear. We were not talking about a coaching vacancy. We were not talking about him leaving Michigan, nothing. We were just talking about how great the young quarterback play is in the National Football League. All these great young quarterbacks, Burrow, Mahomes, blah, blah, blah. He spent 5 minutes telling me that he thinks that Justin Herbert is the best of all of them. He loves Herbert. Take that for what you will. I do not think that Harbaugh will be back at Michigan next year. I'm not sure what the circumstances are that will cause his departure, but whether they beat Alabama or not, whether they win the championship or not, I do not think he is going to be back at Michigan next year based on all that I think is coming down the road with the NCAA with them.
So guys, interesting conversation, right? Okay, let's talk about that. So again, all these allegations are coming out. He's already suspended, as we know. Bottom line, it's an opportunity where he has to move. He can't most likely stay a college coach. So if he wants to get into coaching, guess what? He's got to go to the NFL, right? Now, clearly, from Mike Greenberg, he likes Justin Herbert, right? And if you're a head coach coming to an NFL team, would you rather have the one quarterback you want and you wanted for a very long time, or would you rather have maybe someone like a Caleb Williams then goes to the Bears, right? And that's probably what's going to happen. Most likely the Bears are going to get Caleb Williams and most likely going to move off their current quarterback. But again, there's a lot to discuss in that, right? So again, you just have to ask yourself this question: would he want to go to the Chargers again? We know that he played for the Chargers. You understand the Spanos family. There's a lot more to be said about Jim Harbaugh in general anyway, so we're going to get into that as well too. So let's just see what the rest of the video says.
So if you start figuring out the places, everyone in Chicago is begging for him to come there. Yep, sure. You get him and the #1 pick in the draft, and you put him together and you see what happens. He's the guy who created Colin Kaepernick. Remember, before the dual threat quarterback was a thing, he benched Alex Smith and put Kaepernick in there. And next thing you know, Kaepernick ran for 200 yards in a playoff game. I could see him working with a quarterback like Caleb Williams really well. So I know all my friends in Chicago want that to happen.
He doesn't get along with that president. That president is
Kevin Warren, who used to be the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Everybody says that's a connection.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good connection, from how it was publicly, at least at the very
I don't think it was either. I don't know how many of Jim's former connections end well. That's sort of the way he is. He is an offbeat guy. He's a different breed of cat. And so you're not hiring him and saying, oh, we've got our coach for the next 15 years. But what you are doing is you're bringing in a guy and saying, in the next few years, we will turn this program around and we could easily wind up winning a championship. So if I'm Chicago.
So again, Let's talk about this for just a couple seconds again. Going back to Harbaugh, look, at the end of the day, he's a different cat. Okay, he's prickly, hard to be around, like, very old school coach. Again, we talked about this a little bit with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is definitely, I mean, potentially in the mix. Who knows, right? But boy, that guy's about as fun as watching paint dry. Jim Harbaugh is pretty much the same, right? He's a no nonsense type of coach, right? So would that be good for the Chargers? Would that work out well for the Chargers? Would it work out well for Justin Herbert? I don't know, right? And again, there's a lot to be said about that in general. And, look, bottom line, I'm just going to say this. I find a lot of these conversations to be a little bit strange, a little bit interesting, probably very premature. We lose the Broncos, season's pretty much a wash at this point, and then these conversations become much more relevant. But again, guys, what are your thoughts? I know everyone wants to talk about Jim Harbaugh. I like him. I think he'd be great. But there's a lot to be said about that. I would say if he comes, it would be a clean house type of scenario. I don't think he'd stick around with Tom Telesco. I think Tom Telesco would probably have to go. Who knows? He might even make, Jim Harbaugh be the GM, which would be kind of a shock in my opinion. But guys, you never know. So again, largely I want to hear your thoughts, your initial thoughts on this. Still think it's a bit premature, but want to have a conversation. Guys, what do you think? Andrew Bopro, see you guys in the next one.